You're listening to an episode of Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. This is the place we're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
Well, today we have a very, very timely topic today. That is the school choice program of BISD. And with me is Dr. Lindsey Byrd, who runs this program, and she's going to tell us how it works, how the sign-up process works, the philosophies behind it, the students that are involved, on and on and on. And then she's going to give us a prediction of the Cowboys 49er game. You don't think so?
No, I'm not going to talk about that one.
Okay, or who's going to win the presidential election? You're going to talk about, no politics.
I'd rather not touch that one either. Thank you, though.
Sorry, it's all good. Taylor, how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I know you've been struggling with the all the cedar business and all the allergies. Still working with that.
Yep.
You're all doped up. Well, that's good to go.
All the drugs.
Anyway, this is a big deal because most of y'all know I worked for BHS for quite some time, and at the very tail end, they were starting to implement these programs and these ideas, and now it's a full-blown thing, and it's probably one of the hallmarks of BISD, and I bet people outside of BISD come to us and look to how y'all do it, and there's so many other programs that have emulated BISD programs, so we'll talk all about that. But first, we'll jump in and talk about the sponsors because they make all this possible, doggone them. And I'm trying to get this. Come on, turn off the song. I've been doing this for over 3.5 years now, and I still forget to turn off the song.
Episode 403.
Yeah, and I still have to mess with it. You're trying to get but I'm trying to share it with the public here. So anyway, CrossFit Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. Oops, try it again. All right, 317 Southwest Wilshire. It's a really big workout. It's a strong workout. It's supposed to be, but it's not an unsupervised one. So I've had a couple of people talk to me and say, well, I don't really know what to do about, we have a program. Well, they have programs for you, and they have supervision for you, and they will help you with all these various skills that you need to have. And so it's a great place to get a workout. Okay, I'm still having problems with the internet here. It's my problem, not yours, but I just got to try to get this. I'm trying to share this, and it's not sharing me with what I want. Okay, I'm going to try it again. Let's see if I get it to work. Sorry to be so delayed. Usually, this is not uncommon. And a lot of people are like, okay, I'll get it together for crying out loud. But, it's kind of tough. Anyway, so also thank you to Shandy Stocksdale. She'll be on Monday. She's going to talk about her announcement from yesterday. She's going to be running for school board. And so we're going to be talking about that and about what she has in mind and what she's thinking about. And also we'll talk a little bit about real estate. I have her on about once a quarter because she does the real estate in this area, and she knows the real estate in this area. And it's very, it's helpful, to say the least, to have somebody that knows their business, somebody that has an idea of what's going on with the rates, and that's going on and on and on. And here, go share this one. And there you go. Also, thank you to Our Place. I bet you've been to Our Place before.
Absolutely. It's delicious.
Yeah, it's a great place. Our Place restaurant. It's kind of a hometown atmosphere. I know Otto well. He's a big supporter of most things Burleson, including the BISD. And it's a great place to go do business. I do a lot of business there where, because I don't really have an office as such. I just go there, and it's very comfortable, and they treat me great. And I can highly, highly endorse it, to say the least. Also, thank you to Wild Cigar and Culture. Are you a cigar smoker by any chance?
I'm not.
How about your husband?
No.
Well, somebody might be in your family. So get him a gift certificate there and whatnot. But also, it's a great place to go have a drink. Well, now, I've been in the education profession a lot. And there's two types of teachers, those that drink and those that lie about drinking. So, whatever it is. So Wild Cigar and Culture is a good place to have a nice, relaxing place to go and wind down and all this other stuff. It's also a good place for the NFL playoffs coming up. He's got a lot of programs associated with that. So Wild Cigar and Culture over at the Standard at Hidden Creek. Also, Tiffany Nico is also at the Standard at Hidden Creek on the 3rd floor. It's an advertisement magazine, comes to 30,000 homes, 110,000, what am I saying, 110,000 people. And it always has really good articles and has every month it's like hometown heroes or favorite types of businesses and whatnot. And also at the center of it, they have the scheduled events for City of Burleson and sometimes BISD if they make it known to her. And so she'll make it available to everybody. So Local Life Magazine. So check that out. Also, Southern Gym. Have you been to this place? It's a jewelry store on top of the Windmiller building. This is right next to Tiffany Nico, rather. My wife works there too. So you need to have Mr. Byrd take you to.
There you go. I haven't been there. I always say I'm going to stop in, but I haven't done it
Well,
yet.
they're going to be moving to the bottom floor in about 6 weeks, God willing, and the supply chain holds up. But Southern Gym has been around for over a year, and it's been on top of that Windmiller building. It's just on the 3rd floor, and they got inventory, they have repairs, they have designs, they have the total shop. And like I said, Robin works there 2 or 3 days a week, which is hazardous to my wallet. So, this is so pretty, and that kind of stuff. Like, hey, well, wonderful. Maybe your next husband could do it. I don't know. But anyway, Southern Gym, on the top of the Windmiller building. Also, HotWorks, infrared workout. This location on 731 on John Jones has 11 different workouts, and they do the workout in an infrared environment, so it maximizes your workout without stressing your body out too much. And Michelle, the owner, Michelle Humphrey, will be on in a week from Monday. And we talk about the workouts and the benefits of it, but we also talk about a lot of other things. But this is a really good stress reliever. I promise you a lot of BISD staff go here because Michelle's told me so, that after school, she gets a pretty good turnout of teachers that want to go and work out because it relaxes your muscles and all this other stuff. So it's pretty good. Also, thank you to my insurance agent, Texas Farm Bureau with Melissa Harmon, 682-804-0534. That's 682-804-0534. She can check out your insurance. She can check out the rates, and maybe she can save you some money. And she'll tell you if she can't. But if she can, it's worth the checking out, to say the least. So, do we still? Yeah, we do. Okay, I thought we still had the coat drive. The Trinity Chiropractic still running the coat drive until February 14th. And so you take a coat over there, a used coat, or a new coat if you're that enthusiastic, and it'll go to the Beautiful Feet Ministry in Fort Worth. It'll go to the homeless, and also in return, he'll give you a free exam, x-rays, and a treatment if you need one. And maybe if you have need for more treatments, you can work out some sort of program or regimen of some sort. So go take a coat by. It's over off Summercrest and Alsbury, like behind Bahama Bucks and all that. So give the coat drive a good opportunity for you to not only just make yourself feel better, but also help somebody in need. So let's talk about the school choice program.
Let's do it.
All right. How long have you been with it?
I've been with BISD since 2006, and I started at Academy in Ulladunn's, which was the first choice school. So started as a teacher, and I've also been an administrator there. So I've been pretty entrenched in school of choice for a while. The majority of my career, I would say.
Well, BISD, from what I understand, was one of the first districts to really fully embrace school choice. Now, I know other school districts, like in Fort Worth, they had some of the high schools, like if you want to focus on medicine, if you want to focus on STEM, whatever, you could do that. But as far as I understand, we're the first one really to fully embrace, top to bottom, school choice programs. So when did we really start this? I remember some of it starting out a little bit, but it really took off right after I left. So we've been doing it 5-6 years.
Sure. So 2016 is when we opened most of them. So 2000's when Academy opened. 2015, our STEAM middle school. And both of those campuses are 100% lottery based. So they're not zoned. They're not, we don't have housing additions. They truly are, that entire campus is based on the lottery. And then in 2016, we actually, we continued to have that influx of growth in our community. We had opened the elementary schools, and Dr. Jimerson and the board continued to be creative, and they surveyed parents. What do you want, parents? What do we need in this community? So in 2016, the Academy of Arts at Branson was open. Academy Leadership and Technology in Mound was open. STEAM Academy at Stribling was open. Realm, which has now been renamed to Game Development Design, was open. And Burleson Collegiate was also open. So all of those, based on parent feedback, were opened into choice schools with separate focuses.
And that's interesting to me. I mean, somebody would say to me, maybe, do you think an elementary age kid knows what to focus on, or is it just a general interest? It isn't like a lifelong binding kind of decision. If a young child and his parents think, I'd like to try this, and it turns out that's not really fit his aptitude or her aptitude, there's no obligation to return. I mean, sometimes I think some people get this idea that once you go to one of these schools, a school of choice, you're locked in until maybe you graduate to the next level of schools.
That's a great point. And absolutely, the key word there is choice. And so you're not bound to anything. If it's not a fit, it's not a fit, right? We offered so many other opportunities and home campuses that might be a better fit. And I think it's okay to try it. And if it's not, then move on to a different interest.
Do you have any idea how many parents have their kids in like the school they're zoned for versus the percentages, I guess, of parents who have their kids in a school outside what they're zoned for?
I actually don't have those numbers.
Yeah, I guess it changes year to year.
It does. And so we have to be very careful since so many of these are zoned campuses. We have to look at historical data. We have to look at our enrollment. And it really is a process to figure out how many spots do we have open, how many spots can we fill and not overstaff. And so there's a whole team of people that are involved in that. And then constantly running the lottery as much as we can to open up as many spots as we can. So like, for instance, STEAM, they don't have the middle school, they don't have anybody on their waiting list right now. We've been able to get everybody in. And so just really being cognizant and being aware and continuing to work towards filling spots when people leave and trying to give, that choice to as many people as we can.
So is a number of slots open for outside the zone students? Is that a fixed number, or is it dependent upon how many come back and how many projected enrollment in the zone school would be?
Correct. It's not fixed because we do have to take into account. Now, certainly we use those projections. We meet with staffing, that sort of thing. If we find that we're off on our numbers, certainly we open up more spots to the lottery. And so we do that all the way up until school starts, and some campuses continues after the school year has started.
It sounds like a lot of computer work, to say the least. But so I'm just going to pull school out of the thin air. Bransom, for example.
Okay.
So this year, how many spots would you say they might have available? Would you have any idea?
I don't have that. I actually, so I'm going to correct my title. I'm Director of Administration Support, so I work in a number of different areas.
Right.
And so I help with the student services side, I help with the principal side, but actually the instruction and learning department also helps us staff and figure out spots that are open and take the lead on schools of choice. So I don't have those exact numbers.
Well, so you kind of help them adjust into this process and maybe help facilitate a kid going from one school to another school and that kind of stuff. Now, as far as, so really the numbers are fluid every year, and I guess it'll be based on how many people within the zone say, I want to come back, and maybe people that are within like the Bransom zone say, no, I'm taking my kid to Stribling, I'm taking my kid to Norwood or whatever.
You're exactly right.
And so maybe this year Bransom has X amount, and next year they'll have greater than X amount or less than X amount.
You're exactly right. And then if we have a population of middle school students that are fifth graders that are headed to middle school, that could be different each year as well. So it's very fluid, but we definitely stay on top of that, check the numbers, and open up as much as we can. Right.
And I guess the staffing issues are also fluid as well, because if you have a school that is maybe, for whatever reason, maybe the material they present, whatever specialty they're in, they may have like an abundance of applications. Do they move a teacher from, say, one school to another?
Typically, we don't. We've done this long enough that we kind of have a system of how that works, and we can keep that predictable so that there's consistency on the campuses and for those teachers.
From my experience, most of the parents that are aware of this and like it, they still take the home zone school because of convenience and because that's where their little boy or little girl's friends are. That's what maybe it's good for the pickup situation for them after school, that kind of thing. But I know also of a couple said, no, I really like this program over at one of the other elementaries. Now, when a parent is making this choice, I mean, where would they go to find out which school specializes in what?
Sure, great question. So on our website, BISD website, at the top left, there's an About Us tab. If they'll push on that, it'll say Schools of Choice. You can click on that. It's got each campus. It's got frequently asked questions. And then on top of that, each campus has their own website, About Us, videos, other information. Certainly, there could still be questions from parents, and I think that's when contacting the campus to get some answers as well, because they're going to know the best about speaking about their programs, what they offer, would certainly be an appropriate step as well if they have unanswered questions.
Well, if I ask Taylor really, really nicely, you might pull up the BISD website and hit that About Us link. But we'll see. I've been kind of tough on the young lad. He's pulling it up. You can see on the screen. But as far as specialties, I mean, what are some of the specialties that were offered?
Sure, let's talk about that. So the Academy in Loudoun, that is not a neighborhood school, like I said. So like you said, everybody is traveling from across town to get there or different places. They offer 9-week schedules, which are different than all the traditional schools. And they also focus on skills-based grading. So their report cards look different, which is important for parents to know. And the other thing that's different about them is they do require volunteer time from families to continue to run. STEAM Middle School is another completely lottery-based program. They focused a lot on project-based learning, so the kids have hands-on learning. The other thing that I always notice over there is their trust cards and really teaching those students to have privileges based on the respect that they've earned, the trust they've earned, that sort of thing throughout the 6 weeks, and they earn that in many different ways. There's also the Academy of Arts at Bransom. They obviously have a focus on the art, so it's not uncommon to see their principal, assistant principal with some sort of musical instrument, and obviously they're incorporating that each day. They had a great performance at the venue in December that was a hit as well. We have the Academy of Leadership and Technology at Mound, and so they are a neighborhood school and also have those spots for the lottery. They focus on Leader in Me and also Covey 7 Habits of Happy Kids, and they're what's called a lighthouse campus, and so that is part of the Leader in Me, and they've been recognized multiple years, I guess since 2020, and so they're able to show that off. STEAM Academy at Stribling obviously is focused on the STEAM aspect. They focused on the design thinking and what they are implementing and teaching, and one phrase I hear almost every single time I'm over there is, there's no such thing as fail. That just stands for first attempt and learning. And so it's very common to hear that phrase on that campus. And so that just teaches kids how to rebound from failure at a young age and that it's okay and we keep going. We have the Game Development Design School. They focus on the self-paced learning, the being able to get those credits at a younger age, the internship opportunities in their middle and high school. And then Burleson Collegiate High, that's where our students are taking college and high school credits at the same time. And if they stay on track, they can get their associate's degree. And we have some exciting news this week. The higher ed facility opened.
Yes.
And so our students are getting to, our juniors and seniors are getting to experience that and be part of that college culture. And so a huge thank you to the city and the school district and Texas Tech and Hill and past and present people that have put time and effort and energy into finally bringing this to fruition because it's been a topic for a while.
Yeah, I taught my first class in it Tuesday night, and it was kind of nostalgic because I started in that same building, that same wing. In fact, it was 2 doors down from where I started back in 1990. It looked a lot different back then, but it was very nice. And I'm just thinking, we really do have a good community, not just the city, but also our connections with Hill and with Tech and with BISD. And we provide so much more for the kids now than we did even 15 years ago. And I thought back then we were doing pretty well. But, I mean, it's just amazing to me, the fact that we can get kids with an associate's degree. Like I talked to Seth Hickman about this about 4 months ago. And the fact that they can go to that gaming program over the old venue 511, or that they can specialize in certain academic areas. It just... it's a lot different than it used to be.
Yeah, choice is definitely the common theme.
Now, this choice business, this is not really in response to like outside pressures, let's put it that way, because I know some districts are going to choice now because the courts have basically ordered it, but that wasn't our case, was it?
No, not at all. So we... Burleson's been growing for a while, and we had an influx. We built elementary schools, and we continued to see that we needed to get creative to be able to continue to host all the population that we had, and that kept continuing to come to. And that's hard to predict, right, when people are continuing to move in. So the board and Dr. Jimerson were very creative and, tasked us with what are we going to do, reached out to the community. What do you think? What would you like to see, parents? And so that was more the response and the reason for starting these than anything else, was to get feedback from our parents and to provide space.
Well, that's a good point you're making. Is it wasn't like you were forced to do this. You said, no, this is what the community wants. They want options. They want maybe specialization in certain areas, and we provided it for them.
Absolutely.
And it was, kind of a bumpy start for everything. But it really, what I saw of it from the outside, it looked like, if my children were that young, that's a pretty good reason to kind of move into this town, because I may have a kid that's really, really smart in math, and I might want to develop that. Maybe she's really good at science. I want to develop that as well, as opposed to, just kind of hoping she latches onto something. And I really like that comment about it. Anyway, just got a text message asking me a question about something unrelated, though. Anyway, the thing about it also is that that it does put the parent, though, in a position that they need to be a bit more responsible than just, sending their kids off to school, because they're responsible for the transportation, I'd imagine.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
In our elementary schools, for sure, parents would need to provide transportation to get to and from those choice schools. For middle school and high school, if they already qualify for busing to their traditional home campus, then those students can ride the bus like they would to their home campus, and then they can catch a shuttle in middle and high school to those choice campuses. But only if they already qualify for the busing. So we do try to offer transportation in middle school and high school if they already qualify for it. But in elementary, we need the parents to be able to provide that transportation.
Yes, and sometimes you might have to make a little bit of drive, but Burleson isn't that big yet, so it's worth it. It does put the parent also in a position where not just they have to, make themselves available for transportation and whatever else, but there's an expectation, I would imagine, that if you're putting your child in a school outside their zone, you better be keeping up with the teachers and what's going on with the schools and whatever else. One of the things that always drove me nuts is particularly at high school, open house, I could be playing cards basically because I had like 8 people or something like that. But I bet at the elementary school is different. Now, your background's in elementary school.
Yes.
And when you're a teacher,
you're not going to have 8 people show up in elementary. You're going to have everybody, including, lots of family, friends, neighbors. And so, but that's how we want it, right?
Exactly.
It's a whole entire community, and everybody's invested, and a kid can't have too many people that love them. So yes, you're exactly right. Usually there's some involvement there, and we want that involvement, especially coming out of COVID, having parents involved, having parents building those relationships with those campuses, whether it's choice campus or not, having kids in attendance. All of those things are obviously a priority.
Now, let's say that you live in the Stribling zone. Your child has got a seat in the Stribling school, if that's what you want. The home zone gets the first call, right?
Right. So zone campuses, we have spots for those students. If they chose to go somewhere else, then certainly they can follow the process and be entered into that lottery and possibly get in there. But yes, if it's more convenient for somebody to be at their home campus, then we're going to make that happen for them.
Well, I also, people who don't know this, they may think, well, is my child going to get bumped out of the school that's right down the street? Or something like that. But no, if you live down the street and it's your zone, that's your school. And if you want to choose another one that's across town, then we'll do what we can to make that happen, right? But it's not often guaranteed. I mean, you mentioned the lottery 2 or 3 times. So let's say we have, I don't know, is 50 a relatively normal number for open spots at, say, at an elementary school? Or
it depends. It really depends based on the projections, the numbers, the school, that sort of thing. Now, STEAM and Academy and Allard are going to have incoming 6th grade and kindergarten more than that because they're fully lottery based. But I would like to talk about the process to make sure our families know exactly what that's going to look like. And I just realized I brought notes so I wouldn't leave the school off. And you know what I did? Norwood Environmental Science Academy. And so they are our newest in 2021. And I'm so sorry, Norwood. But they focus on science. They have their gardens. They've got a greenhouse. They're working with community partners to make sure that they offer their kids that. But let's go back to the process. So the biggest thing to know is that for every student that you have that you're interested in the lottery, you need to fill out an application for. And that application is on our website. It's also on those choice school websites. So it's burlesonisd.schoolmint.net.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's
One more time.
burlesonisd.schoolmint.net. And so if I have 4 children that I'm trying to get into a school, I need to do an application for all 4.
All 4.
And so
okay.
making sure that parents do that. And so that's where it's kind of our portal. It's our system that will randomize, run a lottery so that there is no bias, we don't know the kids, they're numbered and that sort of thing. And then it's sent back to us with the lottery, then with names. So it just keeps that out of it. The biggest thing to know for parents when they're filling that out is to, number 1, pay attention to timelines. So for our elementary and middle schools, the application is going to open Monday at 8 o'clock. It's going to close January 27th. That's 5 days that it's open.
That's 5 days.
4 days, Monday through Friday, and it's going to close at 4. And so really, it's heartbreaking when a parent calls at 4:30 and says, I didn't know.
I know.
So really, my biggest advice to families would be just please pay attention to those deadlines because we have lots of people entering their information, and we really need you to stick with that. The other piece of that is, as a past principal of a choice school, this at least happened one time every year, and it's heartbreaking where a family would say, I never heard anything. Well, upon investigation, an email wasn't entered correctly or a phone number wasn't entered correctly. And if that's our means of communication, my biggest plea to parents would be please double check what you're entering, slow down, double check, triple check. And you can also click where messages and information will come to your cell phone. I would recommend doing that as well in case your email is entered incorrectly. That way you have that constant communication because everything happens through this portal. A parent can see their wait list number if they did not get in. They can check it all the way through the summer. Have I moved? Am I closer to getting in? So that really is the form of communication. And so just making sure parents understand that, know that, and enter their information correctly.
Well, let's hope they hear this show then.
I hope so. I hope so.
Taylor, do you have it booted up, the website, by any chance? Here, he's got, well, we've got to run through a couple of things here, but he's got that Our Town video thing, so it's nice to see, but no, it's okay.
That's the website.
That's the website?
So up on the top of the About Us, Schools of Choice.
Okay. We go through this process here, and then he'll put it up on the screen once he gets to it. There it is.
So there's all the information.
Right there. You can turn here.
Oh, thank you. I didn't see it over there.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's so far away.
Yeah.
So we've got frequently asked questions because there is, questions that are constantly asked every year. And so we try to have that there as a resource for parents about each school, how it works, the wait list, if they need assistance, who to contact. And so we have all that information available to parents. And then separately, each campus would have this on their website as well.
There's a collegiate high school.
There's a collegiate. Can we talk about the high schools for a second?
You can talk about all you want.
Okay, so game design and development and collegiate, their application windows have actually already closed. Their applications open November and December. I think they have different opening times. But if a parent's interested in either of those campuses, they can certainly contact the campus to find out how to get on the wait list because generally we also have a second run of applications.
It's not a wait list, though, for that early collegiate program, is there?
Well, what they would do is get their name on the wait list. They would still have to go through a process of interviewing.
Right.
And then that sort of thing to determine if they were eligible.
Any testing required? Because I know
testing.
Some of it's you have to be tested. Not, have to go through some sort of a test. I remember getting, for some kids in dual enrollment, they had to have a test they had to take over in Cleburne, over at the Hill County.
That's going to be the TSI.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
the one.
TSI 2 now. So if they're accepted into collegiate, they will arrange that. And yes, they will have to take that. Hill College requires that for enrollment of their classes, or at least a first attempt
So
as
it's a
freshmen.
Hill thing. It's not a BISD thing.
Correct. It's
Okay,
Hill.
good. Okay.
It's Hill.
All right. And so the application portal, was that on the page you showed, Taylor? I didn't know.
It is on that page.
Can you put it back up, please? There you go. It's on the page.
We'll go back up.
Go back up to the top, if you would. He's so quick with this.
He is. This is amazing.
Yeah, I know. That's why we get the big money.
If you'll go down just a little bit. So application information. I believe it's there. Under frequently asked questions.
Under frequently asked questions, and there's application information.
And there it is in
There
blue.
it is. Okay. And so this, hopefully people will see this or hear this. So if you hear this on the Apple or Spotify, what y'all need to do is go to the BISD website, hit the About Us, and then they'll have all these questions. And you go to the frequently asked questions section, and that's where you'll find what you need to make these applications. And I didn't realize it was just a week. I thought this was something that maybe went on for like 6 weeks or something like that. But boy, I bet next week you're going to be full time.
Well, and anytime we come back from Christmas break, people start talking about this, and that's kind of the time of year we're in. And I think there's been changes constantly about the process, but this is where we are now, and really trying to streamline everything. Used to, we did in elementary, then we would do in middle school, and that becomes quite difficult as we're staffing and preparing for the next year. Because as an educator, we're already thinking about next year and rolling things and making schedules, those sorts of things. So, really trying to streamline that, really trying to make it all. And that way it's more convenient for parents too, because if I have a middle school student and an elementary school student, I don't have to wait for different windows. Here it is. Let me do all my applications and get that going. So hopefully, even though it is a shorter time frame, hopefully it's more streamlined and convenient for our families.
So I'm trying to imagine myself doing this process myself. And so I get on there and say, I want to go to Taylor. What does Taylor specialize in?
Taylor's not, but you could do Norwood.
Or Norwood.
Taylor's a neighborhood school.
Neighborhood school, okay.
But you could do Norwood.
So not every school is involved in this.
Correct.
About half?
A little more than half, probably.
Okay. So let's say Norwood then. Okay. And so I sign up because it's environmental science. What if I'm signing up for other reasons? I want my child to go to Norwood because it's across the street from grandma and she can pick my kid up or whatever. Or I want my kid to go to Norwood because the third grade teacher there is a friend of mine or go to church with. You don't really even ask the rationale why they're going to Norwood. If they want to choose Norwood out of zone, that's the only question you're asking. You're not asking to validate their reasons, I guess.
In elementary school, no. We really are just trying to see, where do you want to go? It's parents' choice at that point. Now, in middle school and high school, they might ask a little bit more focused questions because at the end of the day, it's the student doing the work, and we want to make sure we have right placements of students. But still, any parent can fill out the application, and then the next steps would follow after that. So it is open to anybody. We want parents to have that choice. And we want parents to do what's convenient for them and what they think is right for their child.
Well, it's good in a sense because they don't feel like they have to justify their reasons. And I don't think they should at that age because it's my little kid. And as a former elementary principal and teacher, people tend to get pretty worked up about their children in school.
Hey, I can appreciate anybody that's involved with their kids' schooling,
I
right?
can appreciate it, but sometimes they get, I was married to a woman, I still am married to the same woman, when her kids were in elementary school and junior high and whatnot. God help the administrator or teacher that, you got crossed her path that they got wrong with her, and there was a couple incidents that was funny. Now we laugh about it, but Mama Bear came out a couple of times, so she's going to kill me when she hears this show, but that's fine.
Well, and anybody that crossed that path with her, right, is just appreciative that she was a mom that loved her kid, and they, I'm sure, formed a better relationship and understanding and appreciation moving forward. And when you're an elementary educator that you're with parents that are entrusting you with their kids and they've never left them before. That's a huge responsibility and a gift. And so I think most people in that role understand that, appreciate that.
What age group did you teach?
I taught second and third in the classroom. Then I was a dyslexia specialist for all elementary and middle school ages. And then I was a high school principal.
Okay. At the early college, right? Okay. Now, this whole process, though, they sign it or they fill it out and they get assigned a lottery number. When will they know if they hit the lottery, so to speak?
Sure. So notifications, again, will go through that portal in February. They'll be notified. I believe the date was February 9th. I may be incorrect on that. But
so we're not talking about a long time from now. We're not talking about find out in late May.
Nope, you'll know before that. And like I said, you have access to that portal. And so once those numbers are run, you can constantly see in real time where your kid is on that. Did we get in? Are we on the wait list? If we're on the wait list, what number am I? If I want to check it next week and other people declined, maybe I moved up and I can see that in my number. And that's the other piece of that as well. When the notifications go out, yay, your child got in, you still have to accept your spot. And so parents making sure that you accept that within the deadline is also key and critical because there's a list of other people waiting to get in. So if you don't respond, we take that as you're not interested and we move down. So making sure that we're paying attention to deadlines and making sure we're responding would be really helpful.
Can you apply to more than one school at a time?
I don't know that answer. I believe it's one. In the past, we did multiple, and I think we've scaled back to one. I apologize. I don't know that for sure.
Well, that's fine, but I could imagine if you get a parent that's very ambitious and they put their kid in all 7 of or 8 or whatnot of the schools of choice, that's not really fair because you're basically taking spots and putting about 6 other families maybe, on hanging in limbo.
In the past, it was top two. And you had to pick. After the lottery was run, you had to pick which one you were most interested in. So to avoid that situation. But I do think it might have been streamlined again to just one campus.
Well, if it's top two, I could see that maybe as a possibility because you wanted your kid to go to this one school, but the other one's pretty good too. And if you get aced out of one, well, second choice ain't so bad. But I just had this vision in my head of some hyper ambitious parents wanting to put them in like 3 or 4, and I just thinking you're really going to, be putting a lot of people inconvenienced, and I'm sure they'll let you know it. But so all this really, they'll know about it before Valentine's Day.
Yeah, around that time.
And so how long do they have until they accept their spot?
About a week. So, when you apply, you really need to think, am I committed to this? Is this something I'm interested in? Because the turnaround time is pretty quick as well, much like the application.
So the February 9th is when they're notified?
I believe so.
Okay, so if they're not having notified you in about 7 days, then on that 8th day, then you start going down the waiting list. Right. Wow. I mean, you better be paying attention. It's a
process. It is a process. And it's one of those, it's a system where everything's entered, bias is out of it, kids are numbered and sent back to us. And
see, I'm from the old school when we made schedules at the high school, and there's always stragglers, and the counselors are still pulling kids in at the end of the academic year. Okay, look, dadgummit, you need your schedule for next year to be made. But in this case, if you snooze, you lose literally. And
it's heartbreaking as an administrator that's had many of these conversations, or people that move in, in May and they want to be there so badly. It's heartbreaking to have to say, I'm sorry you missed the deadline, or I've done an investigation and it looks like you never accepted your invitation, or whatever the case may be, or I'm sorry you just moved here. You're going to have to wait. Here's the window in which it usually opens. It is heartbreaking. Nobody wants to be in those situations. So that's my biggest advice to everyone.
And this is your job to deal with these parents, right?
Well, my job is I would certainly help anybody that needs help. Student services is in my department. So certainly I could help with that. Now,
do some of these spots come open? I mean, later in the year, let's say you have a kid that was accepted to Norwood and yeah, absolutely he's going to go, and then finds out in June they're going to move, or they change their mind, or whatever the reason. Then I guess that's what the waiting list is for.
Correct. And then the information will come through. You'll get the email like, hey, you've moved up on the wait list. The campus will most likely contact you to see if you're still interested. And absolutely up until school starts. And some schools after school starts. Like
really?
STEAM middle school was working on their list. I think they've pulled everybody off their wait list at this point, and some of those were mid-year.
Really? Well, that's interesting. So I'm trying to imagine all this in my head, and I'm just thinking there's going to be some fretful nights for some of these parents. I just remember back in my days, get out the door and go to the local school and all that, but that was back in the dinosaur era. But still, are all the spots filled? I mean, does every school have a waiting list, or do you sometimes you have schools that maybe didn't fill all their spots?
No, we usually have those spots filled. But here's what I will say, because I've been around a lot of parents in this community, and parents get really anxious. And what I tell them is there's no wrong decision to make. Think about it, make your decision, try it. It's all going to work out. There are stellar schools within our district.
Right.
And at the end of the day, we all have the same vision. And at the end of the day, we have a great board, superintendent, staff, teachers, everyone included, bus drivers, custodian. I firmly believe we have the best people in Burleson ISD. Love everyone. And I think that everybody's vision is the same. And so if you don't get in that choice school this year, that's okay. We still have great schools.
Right.
And you have the ability to still make those relationships at neighborhood campuses as well.
Well, this isn't like lotteries for like charter schools in the inner city. We shouldn't have that in our heads. I mean, that's, you see these heartbreaking episodes of children and, there's like 20,000 applications for about 2,000 spots, and you have all these broken-hearted children. This is not like that. It's not like, okay, I live in the Fraser zone. I wanted to go to Stribling. Stribling's a choice school, right?
It is,
all right, good. But I didn't get in because of the numbers, lottery, whatever. It's not like he or she's going to be held back at Fraser by any means. They're going to get a good education.
And we would hope those parents would want to form those relationships with the Fraser staff as well, who, if anybody's been at Fraser, that's a tight Fraser Bear community over there. So each of our neighborhood schools are equally close-knit in a different way, may not have the focus on the different areas, but they have their differences as well.
Well, it's been my experience since I've been in this district as a teacher and a resident. The elementary schools were the strongest aspects of BISD, even back in my day, so to speak. I mean, the high schools were good and whatnot, but the elementaries were rock stars. I mean, they all, and I remember when I started teaching in the junior high, they came pretty well prepared, most of them. And then when they got to the high school, most of them, not all certainly, but most, I've been pretty proud to be part of the BISD system. Now, I could tell you there's some days I thought we were the craziest bunch of lunatics and, who let these out of the asylum? Or that's the craziest idea I've ever heard. But in the last few years, they've had really, really great ideas. And this is one of them. And I guess if I were a parent and I wanted my kid to get into one school, but the numbers didn't work out that way, I would try to find a reason why I'm glad my kid's going to a neighborhood school. And I'll, like you said, get to know the teachers and get to know the program. And I think they're going to, after doing that, they'll be much more confident in their mind that things worked out the way it's supposed to. And that's a good thing, that we have that kind of system. I wonder if we're going to have any more elementary schools, though, as much as we're building in this town, you think?
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I'm not sure where we'll be on that. But, you've been in education long enough, and you've seen the growth of Burleson, and then things slow down, and then things grow. So we're just following the pattern and rolling that ride right now, and we'll see where we land. But what I can promise you is we have a leadership team of the school board and our superintendent who, once they see anything on the horizon, they're going to reach out to families, community, and we'll make those necessary adjustments based on feedback, I feel certain.
What about special ed arrangements for these schools? Let's say you have a kid that wants to go to Norwood, but he has accommodations. Those accommodations, no doubt, will be met at Norwood, right?
Absolutely.
Right. And it has no impact at all about the lottery position or being chosen at all. So if you're thinking out there, and to my vast listening audience, that your child may have a better situation, special ed wise, for whatever reason. Right? We have really good programs, but maybe the person at Norwood. That's a good reason maybe to choose Norwood.
Yeah.
Do you have people that choose it based on that other than maybe academic focus? They choose it based on services provided or the personnel that provided and that kind of thing?
I'm sure that there are some choices made with that, right? It all comes down to parent choice, what they're comfortable with. So I'm sure some parents may have chosen on that behalf. But what I will say is if they have an IEP at 504, we certainly are going to grant that at any campus. And obviously meet those needs. We've got dyslexia on campuses. We've got speech on campuses. We've got 504 accommodations being met, IEP. So that shouldn't hinder anything.
All right. So that really has no impact at all about this whole process we're talking about.
Now, I will make one caveat. If there's a specialized program that a student is in, that would be an IEP discussion about do they need to stay in that specialized program on that campus, or would they be better suited on a choice campus if they don't offer that same program? So
I got you.
There is my caveat to that.
Another thing is when I first got here at the high school, people from other districts would come and check out our talented and gifted program because we had Ann Brock, who we have named a school after. I don't know if you ever met her.
I did not.
Okay, but she was a local legend even then. And districts from all over the state would come emulate what we were doing here in Burleson. And the same thing when Angela Sifford was running special ed at BHS. I believe she's assistant principal now, right?
She's retired.
Oh, is that right?
She is. Oh. She's keeping her June bug, that baby, her grandbaby.
Ah, good for her.
Yes.
Well, but I worked with her for decades. Anyway,
Great
but
person.
she had a rock solid special ed program. In fact, people would move into the district just for their kids to get in her program. And people from other districts would come and see, how do you do this? What are you doing here? Same thing with the credit recovery program my wife was in about 15 years ago. Are people doing that now for school choice? Are they coming to see y'all?
That's a great point. We do have transfers that will open shortly, but unfortunately, you cannot transfer into a school of choice if you're outside of BISD.
And that's not what I meant. I meant other districts.
Oh, other districts.
Yeah, they come in and
certainly.
Yeah, copy what we're doing.
But, here we are in education. Everybody's calling each other for, what's your feedback on this? How are you doing this? So certainly there's that constant communication and people watching and seeing what's happening neighboring or nearby or a place they've heard about. So, yeah, and I think that we have a pretty good system to share back with them of here's what we've done historically, here's what we've seen, here's some things that you should think about. And so we do have a lot to offer and share about the systems and the processes.
Well, I'm really pleased and proud to be part of this system, even as a retiree, but just that our community does this. And you couple that with the early college, with the Opportunity Fund. I can't tell you how many kids I've taught at Hill that are there on the Opportunity Fund. That's one of the best things. I tell people outside the district that we have that, and they're like, my gosh, I wish we had that here. And I tell them about this. Oh, well, I wish we had that here. And then I tell about the early college. Oh, what's the matter with my district? Why aren't they doing these things? And so it's a really good thing. Well, we're towards the end of the show, so I'm going to let you have the last word. And you tell us everything that the parent needs to know and you want them to know about this, what's coming up.
Sure. So I think the biggest thing to know is that we want parents to have choice. We want parents to have decisions in the education of their children. So my advice would be pay attention to those deadlines. Applications open up Monday at 8:00. Application for each child that you're interested in entering the lottery. And then just being patient through the process. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay. Just remembering that we still change and try to get kids in up until school starts, and that they can constantly see their status on that portal and where they are on the wait list.
And time is of the essence. All right. And don't be caught, watch the old basketball phrase, watching the paint dry, because I didn't realize it was this quick. I thought you had maybe 6 weeks and you'd find out in April. And I guess I just stuck back in the Stone Age back when we were putting schedules together, and we'd find out. Sometimes we'd find out like the day before school started. Oh, by the way, Allard, you're teaching this. Because all that kind of flexibility going on and fluctuation in numbers. But y'all seem like you have this thing nailed down, that you pretty much are going to know who's going where by the end of the school year.
Absolutely.
And that's great. I appreciate what you do for the school. I appreciate the effort it takes, because I know the next couple of weeks, 3 weeks, you may be working overtime.
Busy time. But it's worth it, right?
It is. It really is. When you see, probably, I bet on that first day of school, and you see kids come into the new school and they see all these opportunities they're going to have. Even little kids know what's going on. They see these opportunities they're going to have in an area of their interest. That has to be really, really great.
It's rewarding.
It
Makes
is.
the work worth it. So I'm grateful to be here.
Well, say hey to Michaela and everybody over there. And Scott Sheehy was watching, and he says hey.
I'll say hey.
I have his son in class now.
Oh,
At
fun.
DBU. Very fine young man. Very nice young man. So anyway, on Monday, we're going to be talking to Shandy. On Tuesday, I'm talking to Victoria Johnson, City Council. And then on next Thursday here, I'm talking to Adam Russell, who has applied for seat number 6, place 6 on the City Council. So thank you, Dr. Byrd.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll see y'all next week.